Arkansas has one of the lowest voter turnout rates in the country. Why? Well, the reasons range from distrust and confusion to deliberate attempts to prevent people from voting. Micah Wallace with the Arkansas Young Democrats.
I feel like a lot of times young people don't turn out to vote, probably because they feel like they don't know enough, or they don't know exactly what they're supposed to do or like what will be expected of them when they walk in.
Arkansas is rural and voters must request a mail-in ballot if they can't make it to the polling station. That can be a big barrier to voting, according to State Senator Joyce Elliott.
You might have to drive a very long way, to get to the polls. There are, so many cases where people have hours that don't sync up with the ability to vote with their work.
Arkansas's history is another factor. After the Civil War, Jim Crow codified segregation into laws that affected education, public services, and made voting difficult for Black Arkansans and other groups.
We talk about voter distrust of government, and we see that it's clear that that's something that is much higher on average, I think, in the South than it is in the North. It's hard to ignore that some of the roots of that go back to the Civil War, to Reconstruction. And I do think that kind of continues on generationally.
Many scholars have documented the traditionalistic political culture that has dominated the South, especially with respect to voting behavior.
Janine Perry points to a history of corruption and power held by a small group of elites.
They're the ones who make decisions. They usually make it for their own benefit. That also has, I think, had a role culturally in depressing all kinds of participation.
Right now, on the national scale in Arkansas, it's not very competitive, and I think that does depress turnout when people don't think it matters, when they think that the winner's a foregone conclusion.
The situation is bleak, but we found young people hoping to turn things around by building change at the grassroots level.
The Young Dems have really done the best that we can to take the message that voting is important to people directly.
Don't even register to vote for the president.
But do you want to do it? It's so important, and if young people show up, we can literally change everything. It's different if one of your peers or a young person says, do you want to get registered to vote?
Voting is the way we get to have an exchange with people that we don't get to talk to every day by registering what we think at the polls.
The older generation isn't always going to be the older generation forever, and someday that's going to be us. And we're going to have to live in a world and in a country where the majority of us didn't vote and we didn't express our opinions, and then we're left with issues that could have been resolved when we were younger, and instead we're having to deal with them when we're older.